Happy New Year! Hi, I'm Leah Sia. Welcome back to my channel where I mostly talk about books, but there's also some gaming videos and some baking videos. So it's a little bit random, but hey, I'm just doing whatever I feel like. So, starting 2025, it will be a books video. I have two separate piles of books, and the reason being I never talked about November and I have my December books, so that's what I want to do in today's video. And yeah, let's just get going. So I just one more time hope you had a good start into 2025, and let's talk books, starting with what I read in November 2024. We have 3 books here that I read in that month, starting with The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. If you don't know, this is the author of the Anne of Green Gables book and series. So Canadian author, and this was another of her books that was recommended to me, like being cutesy and kind of warm. For me, it didn't fully hit the mark, if I'm perfectly honest. It was kind of too negative, too depressing. So we are following Valency, I think her name is, who's like, for some reason, not really treated well in her own family. She's like the odd one out, the shy one. Everyone tramples over her. She can't even like say her opinion, and we're a lot in her head, and especially in the beginning it's a lot about kind of yeah, there are like suicidal thoughts in there, if I'm not entirely wrong, don't quote me on that, but like in any way very depressing. So when I thought back to the recommendation that this one also has a warm and cozy feeling to it, I was like, huh? so because of that, maybe it was just because my expectations were on that end kind of falsy. So so it's good to be a restart, very, very depressing. And this is not a spoiler, this is something she learns in the beginning of the book and kind of sets in motion the rest of the story. So she learns from the doctor that she is fatally ill, and she feels like she hasn't really lived her life, and so then things start changing. Towards the end, we meet new people, like kind of a found family thing that was very cozy, very cute. Also when she starts standing up for herself, like these things I really enjoy. It's like, so you have grip, you have power in you, like why not earlier? And things like that. There's a little bit of romance as well, but then also the typical romance trope that it can't just go well, it has to break up once and things like that. And yeah, so that's why, like I said, it wasn't completely for me. It could have been my expectations, but yeah. So that was The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. The second book that I read in November 2024 was Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier, the author of Rebecca, which is pretty well known. Modern classic. I love this one. Oh my god, this was everything and anything, and I'm probably gonna now read everything by Daphne du Maurier because I also really, really enjoyed Rebecca, and this one, oh, I can't say which one I enjoy more. I was just trying to like, which one should I say is the better one, but I don't know. They're both so good. So here we are in the English countryside. Now I don't remember where it was. I actually looked it up on Google Maps and it was a real place because I was so interested. Now I don't remember. It was November, so it has been a while. Sorry, I need to look it up. Helford River. So English countryside, Helford River, and which is like along the coast, and so they have lots of creeks where these rivers connect to the sea. And basically also the area around there has been like suffering from raiders from France that like go over to England and then go back again. And so this is about that. So we have this lady, rich lady, we start by just fleeing fleeing into this countryside house, which was apparently completely closed off with just one servant, just basically making sure it doesn't fall apart. And she just suddenly appears with her children, and we don't really know why. That's how we start. And in the very beginning, it was so interesting. The lady's the protagonist, and she was like, "What's her name? God damn it! I hate that Lady Donna." Dang it, Lady Donna. So Donna is then on her way there, and in the beginning, she seems like kind of arrogant, snobby, typical rich lady, which not at all is the case. And we get to know her, and also there is obviously some development there, and she's very interesting. It's like so difficult because I don't want to give away too much of her character, because I feel like also figuring out her character is part of the joy in this book. So I'm gonna hold back. But so if that is like something that maybe stops you, or like what's this? I don't want to follow arrogant. Like, give it time. She's awesome. She's so good. So anyway, so she moves there with her children, but not her husband, and we don't know why. And like we're a lot in her head, and she's just like, I can't do this London life anymore. This whole fake, being nice, being fancy, wasting money, getting drunk, doing stupid pranks and stuff like that. So that's why she moved to the countryside, and there is a creek near this house, and then suddenly there is a pirate ship there, which we can see here, and she meets these French pirates, and stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens. It's fantastic. I loved it so much. I kept reading, and it's really like action. So like, don't mistake this for a slow, cute, just pure romance thing. It's like shit is going down. We're in the 1920s, 30s, I think, by the way, time-wise. So shit goes down, and a lot of like pirate action, and jailbreaks, and stealing, and even like crazy dinners. And it's so good. I loved every page of this, basically. So 5 stars. Read it. It's so good. All right, and book number 3 of November 24 was Assassin's Apprentice, Robin Hobb. I don't know what the series is officially called. I think it's like Fair or something. It's one of the the name of the well, it's the Six Duchies Kingdom. So yeah, sorry, I don't know that. But anyway, this is book number 1, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. So this one, I liked most of it, but it also didn't fully, entirely, 100% capture me. Difficult to say. So it's definitely not a bad book. I did enjoy it. Assassin's Apprentice, we start with a bastard, like literally a child that was fathered by someone unmarried, being delivered by a prince, no less, is delivered to the keep. And we follow our little boy that is unnamed. He has no name, and names are very important in this fantasy world. They name, like, especially the royal line, like they're called chivalry and stuff like that. So they're called according to virtues. And so and he's chivalry's son. Sounds so weird. Or bastard son. And so we follow him, and like in the end he's basically called Fitz, which is I think yeah, it should have just been like a nickname, but then it kind of stuck. And he's very young, I think 6 years old when he gets delivered. So we basically follow along Fitz on how he, well, like first is almost ignored, and then starts to like grow older, and has like this mentor figure in the herder or animal person responsible. I don't know if there's an official title. So he like grows up in basically in the stables, learns how to take care of animals, and then suddenly the king takes interest in him, and it's like, well, it's better we educate you, it's better you're on our side, you are an official royal bastard. And so, and that's then how his Assassin's Apprenticeship starts. And there are some like really cool, like very strange characters in here. There's a fool that is definitely more than what he seems, and also the mentor or teacher for the assassination stuff is also a very interesting person. And they also have an interesting magic system that they call, well, there's two things: the skill, what was the other one? But basically when he started to go, Fitz started to get close to these animals, he got so close that he could like see through their eyes and use their nose, and it was like a real bond between him and a dog in this case. And apparently that particular magic skill was looked upon as being a shame. Like apparently it could turn you into a beast because you're constantly spending in a beast's head. And even his stable mentor was like totally against him and forbade him to do it. And the skill magic is basically a sense of telepathy, so you can like shout orders and things like that. And you can also, in a sense, push with your mind. So it's also slightly physical, but not all too much. And it's very interesting because they also, these six duchies, they were founded by raiders, but now they're still having raiders being a huge problem. And they have started with this new poison, or what you want to call it, where people are getting kidnapped, and if they don't pay the ransom, they do release them again. And if they pay the ransom, they kill them. So it's a really like bad situation, lose-lose. But if they deliver them back, they lost all their emotions, and they're basically reduced to feral animal that just want to survive. You can't argue with them, you can't reason with them, they don't know who you are, and they even kill each other. And so it's like this really huge, everyone obviously is terrified of becoming that and being raided. And so we have like them using the skill to try and convince the navigators that they took a wrong turn or something in the sea, and so that they don't reach even the shores. And it's very interesting. I really enjoyed that part. And in his training, like he has different training, he has arms training as well. He finally gets close, but then like learning to assassinate itself, that is never in particular like written out how he even learns that. And then we have like the first case where he needs to go somewhere, and if the person is a problem, so then also he needs to be the one making the call. That was interesting. Then he needs to make sure that person dies, but that he dies after the royal group has left, so they can't be blamed. So like a poison that works and makes sure he's dead, but not there, and it's not traceable and things like that. But we never like learn like the plans or how he learns it. It's just like, yeah, now he knows how to poison people. Yeah, that was one of the things that I didn't fully like. And then also in the climax, so stuff happens. Some of the princes get married. We're making like alliances, trying to fight back against the Red Raiders with that weird poison or whatever they're doing to people. And then we have a climax. We have a sort of like final battle, if you will, though not like a battle with soldiers. It's more political, which I also enjoyed, because there's three princes, and then they obviously have different agendas, or not obviously, but they do. And also there is other people from the king, and then there is the people from the six duchies that want to marry into there, but they don't want to lose power and things like that. So there's a lot happening on that end, which I really enjoyed. And so this final battle again was supposed to be an assassination, because the first one, oh no, I don't want to say it, never mind. Scratch that. So that was another assassination that was to be done by our Fitz here, but very early on, he they know, like someone has ratted him out, so he's in a very peculiar situation. But then he almost gets forced to do it anyway, and like they're trying to outmaneuver each other. So it's very interesting. But then stuff happens with people getting injured, like beaten up and almost dead. And then the skill mind battle happens while the body is half dead. And I don't know, that just lost me. I felt it too. I lost my immersions, like, you know, with broken ribs and half, like almost not even being able to breathe. Would you be able to do a battle of the minds, and then a dude million miles away also talks to us? And I don't know, that's when I was, yeah, kind of, okay, this is not exactly what I had expected. I had expected a little bit more like assassination learning, like how, like it's described how he's always been good at sneaking because of like him being a bastard. He was always walking around and like trying to fade into nothingness, so people were leaving him alone. Like, I understand, but I don't know, I just wished I had gotten a little bit more on that. And yeah, not much more to say. I think I said already much, but it's still a good book. I think, I don't remember, but it's a 3.5 star, I think is what I gave it. But it's a good 3.5. So, and nice fantasy. And again, I do like the world. It's maybe again something with my expectations. I don't know. So Assassin's Apprentice, that was that one. And that's November done. So that was 3 books in November. And then for December we also have 3 books. And we are starting with the Vampire Lestat. This one, you know what? I just realized. So, what I just said was actually my December books. Sorry, these were in December. These were in November. Time passes. Yeah, get forgetful. I don't know why I said it, because I know. Anyhow, that was the very last book I finished, and then I started a new book at like, I don't know, the 28th or something that I didn't finish. So anyway, in November now, for reals, this time I read The Vampire Lestat. So this was one of the last like my October reading books where I had read a lot of vampire books. So I did read Interview with a Vampire years and years and years ago. And I was always curious, and I never got around to reading this one, but now I did, The Vampire Lestat. And so basically here we follow, God, what is it with names? Lestat. Names don't work today for me, apparently. We follow Lestat and how he was made a vampire. So we are starting, or actually we're starting in the now time, which is like somewhere around where the first book ended-ish, or slightly before that. So like in modern time, when he decides to wake up again. And then we go back and he tells us his story, basically. So that's how the book is set up. So we start then in his human life, hear about his family that was like, they had like titles and lands, but they weren't super rich. So he had like 1 pair of boots and things like that, but they had the title, so they were still like well respected. And yeah, and basically, so he goes out one day and he's like the only one of his family that's like useful to the community, I guess, hunting and getting things done. And he went out because there was a lot of complaint about wolves, and in the end he ends up like killing 7 wolves, almost dying in the process. But we then later find out a vampire saw that and was impressed by him, and then he picked Lestat to become a vampire. So, but before that we have a lot of like existentialism talk and drunken talk. That wasn't really up my alley, I have to say, personally. So he gets like this best friend, maybe lover. I don't think they engage in any intimate relationship. Maybe, I don't now fully remember. They're very cute together. I love those two together, so don't get me wrong here. But their discussions on like life and what's the point in life, and in particular Lestat. He's like quite whiny, sorry, in my opinion, and like he completely loses it, and like for several weeks he just cries every day, and there's a lot of crying in this book. Oh my god, every single person and or vampire basically cries. And I have to say I got kind of tired of it. It just also didn't feel this is normal human slash vampire behavior. It was just over the top, like watching a very overacted theater performance. And yeah, but then we follow him in Paris. In Paris happens his transformation. I guess that's not a spoiler. We all know Lestat is becoming a vampire. And then basically it's kind of interesting because his master doesn't really teach him anything. I'm not going to say more than that. So like we follow him as he figures stuff out, like the powers and so on. So yeah, he has to figure a lot out on his own. I think that's something he mentions in an interview with a vampire when he teaches Louis, that it's like, well, he should be grateful that he has someone to teach him. And then yeah, but he doesn't want to see that best friend that I mentioned after he's become a vampire, because he doesn't want to corrupt him, and because he feels like he's truly evil. So like as a vampire, and also he does not really feel remorse for killing. But then also, if you think about the Lestat in Interview with a Vampire, to me, again, that is told to us by Louis. And one of the first thing, I forgot to mention that, they say in this book is how he has read the book Interview. So the book Interview with a Vampire is a real book also in the world here, that the Louis actually has published. And Lestat read the book. And one of the first things he says in this book is saying that Louis lied. So to me, that's basically author saying, yeah, I'm going to retcon Lestat. So and he is retcon. So Lestat is pretty brutal and enjoying playing with his victim and things like that. That to me would have been a much more interesting book to follow a villain like that, and he's the protagonist. And here he's basically a goody-goody. In the beginning, like, yeah, he doesn't really care, but then he only hunts criminals. He doesn't play with them. He doesn't do anything actually evil, and he helps a lot of people, and he gives lots of people money that he gained as a vampire and supports them. And he's this super good messiah person that is still depressed because what's the point in life, but now he will live forever. Which that is kind of ironic and interesting. But I don't know, I was disappointed. It's like, why did you feel a need for that retcon? I don't know, like, yes, it could be believable, yeah, Louis exaggerated, but again, it's literally two different people, two different Lestats, the one in Interview with a Vampire and the one in this book here. And also towards the end, like, we get a lot of like some of the older vampires. Amant, that is also in Interview with a Vampire, is also a lot mentioned here when he met Lestat, because they do say in Interview with a Vampire, oh, did Lestat make you, and things like that. So we also read about that, and then we get Armand's story, and it's a lot of details and not that very interesting. And then we meet another old vampire, and then we get that person's story, and it's a big book. It doesn't look that big, but it's like almost 600 pages. So too long, too many, like, I'm sorry, boring background stories that just didn't really give anything. And then also towards the end, she tries to fully explain where vampires came from, like the first ones, and to completely unravel the whole mystery, if you will, and like have everything defined on how exactly it goes down and works. And yeah, no, not for me. So unfortunately, while I did enjoy some passages in here, for the most part, this wasn't the book for me. I loved Interview with a Vampire, and so if you want to read a vampire book, read that one. And language-wise, written-wise, very well written, both books. So definitely pick Interview with a Vampire if you haven't read them yet. So yeah, that was The Vampire Lestat. The second book from still November, or November for real this time, was Steppenwolf by Herman Hesse. So German author. We in my school, I'm from Switzerland, we read a couple of Herman Hesse, but not Steppenwolf. So this was my first time reading it, and I read it in English, because I read everything in English these days, which was very interesting. So this is a difficult book to explain. It's very philosophical and also in times nonsensical, like we're reading like slightly absurd things, but most of the time it is not. So it goes a little bit forth and back. So first we start by having like the book has its own preface, but not the preface that someone else wrote. Like this is how it starts, to explain what this book is. And it's about a guy who has met the Steppenwolf, and like he said that the Steppenwolf left the rest of the manuscript to him, and like so he then explains first on why he decided to publish the Steppenwolf's manuscript. So we start with that. So it's kind of interesting. It feels like, yeah, maybe this you could find that somewhere. So anyway, and the Steppenwolf is like something like he gave himself that title, like someone that is very like lonely, like a wolf in the steppes. That is the idea behind the name. And like socially awkward, can't really connect with people, and very, very intelligent, maybe too intelligent for his own good. Very, very religious, and like all these like very strict childhood teachings like taken to word for word, and like punishing himself for things that shouldn't be and stuff like that. And yeah, so basically then the Steppenwolf talks a little bit about his views on the world and how humans are not great in his view. And yeah, again, it's not easy to summarize this book, but slowly we also like, it's not so much a progression story than like him explaining things to us. That can be a bit maybe also difficult to read. For me, I thought it was nice, fine, but we do also follow slightly a storyline. And so, trigger warning, there is a lot about suicide in this book, and him, because he is so lonely, thinking that suicide is the only solution, because there is anyway no point to life. So like these kind of thoughts, if these trouble you, then don't read this. There is a lot in it. So one day he then just meets a random woman who is yeah, a whore. And they become like friends, and like she says like she would never sleep with him. That's not the point between those two. But she like gives him what he needs. She could like read him. And is that a spoiler? Maybe a slight spoiler. So if that is enough for you, he meets this mysterious woman, they become good friends, and then we follow together how they go after a plan. So that's what I'm gonna say is spoiler free. Mini spoiler coming now. So she then says in this pact, in their plan, okay, I will help you, but you then must kill me, because she also wants to die. But she realized she can't do suicide, so she wants the Steppenwolf to kill her, which is kind of... So when I read that, I was like, okay, now the stakes are on. Okay, spoiler done. So we follow them, meet some other people, so he does get some intimacy also. And then towards the end, like I said, then sometimes we have these absurdity sections where I'm not so sure what happens. Like I can read and understand what happens, but it's like basically almost a drug trip. So we also don't know how much of that is true. And then there's some crazy mini stories happening, like dreams almost. where we follow along them, and then comes the climax at the end, which obviously I will not spoil. So to me, I thought that was an extremely interesting read. At times slightly difficult, like I mentioned, so not the easiest one to read. Maybe you need to reread some passages to completely follow along. But other than that, yeah, this was cool. A lot of philosophy, I can't, words, language today not working. Philosophy. Is it? Okay. Well, you know what? It's best to just laugh when something doesn't work. All right. Anyhow, cool book. I recommend. I think I gave it 4 stars for the difficulty. Otherwise, it would actually be a 5. So, and very last book, and we are already on 30 minutes, so I try not to spend too much time. I read the first Witcher book. This is The Last Wish. Oh yeah, by Andrzej Sapkowski, I think you say, Sapkowski. Not 100% sure, sorry. So he is the brilliant mind from Poland about the Witcher series, which started as a book. This is the very, very first one, also published. By now, if you read the Witcher books in chronological order, one of them, I think the one after this one, there is one that is like new. I will read them I will continue right now. Okay, I love this book, so I will actually read the second one, but the chronological one. No, sorry, not or publishing chronological one. So we read the next one here. So this is about Geralt of Rivia, who is a Witcher. So we're in a fantasy world. Completely its own world, own politics, lots of politics. So if you've seen the Netflix series, that is basically somewhat based on this book, also taking a lot of liberties, but this is like Geralt reminiscing and about some stories. So people say like this is a collection of short stories. I don't fully agree. It's like, yes, he is in a temple, he's resting and he's reminiscing about stories, then we go into that story, but then we go back to the nowadays and things happen. So for me, saying this is a collection of short stories, I don't think that's true, in my opinion. So in that we also have this main story that progresses, even if just after over a few pages, and then we do go back into a story that he's reminiscing about. But basically these stories are kind of explaining to us where he is in his mindset and some things like that, and then towards the end what he decides to do. So I really enjoyed this. So I have played the Witcher game, the Witcher 3, not 1 and 2. The Witcher, all 3 games, they're after the stories by Andrzej Sapkowski. So like there is no need to have played the games to understand this, not so ever. Again, this is the very first one, so it explains it really well. I love the signs. Signs are like mini forms of magic that Witchers can do. Witchers are not mages, so they're fighters, they fight monsters. Sorry, I didn't explain that. So for the uninitiated, so it explains it really well while not being an exposition dump or over explaining, which is things I dislike personally in fantasy. So it's very, very well done. Geralt, that I knew from the games, is just a really interesting, awesome character. He's like very neutral, so he's not exactly a good boy, but he's definitely not a bad guy. And he has his views, and he's very strict on his views and his principles and things like that. And we learn about Geralt. We have these several different stories. So we're killing monsters, we're helping monsters, we're releasing curses and things like that. It's very interesting. I don't really think I can summarize it because of the nature of how it is. So again, he's at a temple, he's healing at that point. We don't know why he needs it. And then we're going back and we learn more and more how things have happened. And through that, we also follow along a little bit on what is happening with the world, because he's in different kingdoms and dealing with different people and things like that. So I thought it was fantastic. It's a wonderful world that Andrzej Sapkowski has created. And I really like this first book. So I will definitely get the second one and read it soon. So yeah, that was The Witcher, The Last Wish. Yay! I made it. So let's see, maybe I can go into the middle. I like to be on one side so I can have the books high up, but for the end we can be in the middle because I'm gonna, let's see, can my hands hold this? Yes, I can. So these were, I'm sorry. All right, these were the 6 books. December, November. Correct, I almost said November again. But yeah, that's what I have read, and I'm excited. Reading in 2025. I have finished 1 book and I'm on my 2nd one. I have lowered my own reading goal just because I have had a really good reading flow and I don't want to lose it. So I'm slightly lowering it. So I used to, in many of my videos, I had 4 or 5 books. Now twice in a row, 3 books. And I think that is kind of my goals. I actually have 3 books a month as a goal in my own personal reading journey. So yeah, so you can expect that. All right, I talked long enough and I'm starting to get dry in my throat. So Happy New Year one more time. Have a wonderful start into 2025. Don't worry so much about New Year's promises and stuff. Just focus on yourself, listen to yourself, and do what makes you happy. Have a lovely day. See ya.